please welcome the panel up to the stage. We've got Bernd, Brigita, Bruno, Christoph, and Fahad. Please give them a warm welcome.
I want to welcome you to the panel, The Future of the EPG and UX-wide Streaming Content Discovery. But before we start, briefly introduce my lovely panelists, and we can start ladies first.
Ladies first. Hello everyone, that was heavy. I'm Brigita, I'm from Elisa in Estonia, and as my title says, I'm the product owner of TV, so mostly taking care that the customers are happy every evening when they get home and watch TV. That's my main role.
Hi everyone, I'm Fahad Durrani. I lead the content discovery and monetization team for Google TV.
I'm Bruno. I lead the sales of product analytics at NPAW. So we do data intelligence from the whole user experience, since getting into the app, go to watch video and everything. So we measure everything and provide data intelligence.
Good afternoon, my name is Christoph. I'm working for Magenta Telekom in Austria, responsible for the TV platforms from an end-to-end perspective.
Cool. So before starting talking about the future, maybe we're going to start with the present. The EPG is basically a synonym for linear television. And we talked a lot about streaming and fast and all the other things. Still kind of a relevant portion of consumption is linear. And maybe we can start with kind of the operators on the panel to briefly discuss how important this component is as of now. Maybe it might decline, but what's the importance currently in viewership?
I think EPG and zapping and live TV, its relevance is not falling anywhere, although most of us would hope that it's going away and we have less channels soon and we're all only watching series and only streaming and binge watching. But that's not the reality, because we have a lot of customers who are still zapping, still going only through EPG, still only watching the channels, and we can't get rid of them. It's the similar example that we had, the similar example we had in the morning during the coffee cup discussion was that when I went to Levi's store and I wanted to have skinny jeans, and I asked for skinny jeans, then they said, oh, the retrofit. And then I was a bit worryingly standing there thinking that I have become retro, so I have become as retro as the people that are watching only EPG and zapping the channels. And then are the young ones who are not watching EPG. They most likely might even not use it. They don't zap the channels, so we have to make sure that they get the content that they want to get. It's a difficult one, but yes, the EPG and zapping people are not going anywhere yet. Yeah. They're still alive.
I think, and for a good reason, I think. Looking at the research in Austria shows that we still about 70% or 65% customers are using live TV, which is the biggest portion actually. And the older the people getting, the higher is that ratio. So 50 plus have 80%, and every young kid gets older, and I'm pretty sure that this will stay. Especially when we also look at the broadcasters, they're changing their model on producing content. They're not showing double headers of How I Met Your Mother or so in prime time. They're producing live shows to keep the people on the screen on live TV. Because those shows are not working on catch-up content, for example. You want to discuss that on the next day with your colleagues. So we see there are also some improvement on the broadcaster side.
And what's the primary entry point then from your perspective? So is it the buttons, the numbers? People are tuning into kind of linear channels, or is it the EPG, or what are you seeing on your platform?
I think it's both. So customers knowing their favorite channels, they use it by numbers. If you would like to see what is coming next, for sure the EPG is still the majority entry point. Definitely. Favorites, for example, so the last comment, favorites or is not really used, for example, in our market. So only 1 to 2% are using favorite channels.
Yeah, and for us as well is that it depends a lot where the customer is watching TV. If they're watching it on set-top box, maybe only already the TV starting from live channels. They're already in live channels. Then yes, they know that their sports channel is 69. Then the series channel is 45. I have no idea what's the channel number, but they know it. And if they want to know what's on TV tomorrow or yesterday, they go back in EPG. Or my grandma, she still has the paper EPG magazine that you get every week, and she goes through that and then searches the show she wants to watch. But she also watches catch up. She's not so bad, but yes. And can we imagine that in 20 years people are also sitting on stage and then they're talking about us, the streaming people, or us, the TV people, and then they're saying the old generation. And then they're thinking how to keep TV alive for us. And where are they entering the TV? That's a bit scary.
So Fahad, from a Google perspective, which certainly has a broader view on the thing, and it's not only the EPG, but still I assume it's also from your perspective and a component you need to provide to the customers. And what's the Google view on that one?
Absolutely. First of all, we've got partners here who are using Android TV. So for those who are confused, I'll explain a little bit. So we've got Android, the OS, which we forked specifically for the TV use cases. So we provide that to all of our operator partners, I think over 200 of them globally. And they can customize it to whichever experience they want to build. And then we've got what we call the Google branded experiences like Google TV, which are very specific, and we provide that to what we call our retail partners, so the Sonys, the TCLs, the Hisenses of the world. So we basically serve all of these different kinds of use cases. Then on top of that, you've got the user use cases as well, which Brigita explained. We've got the older demographics and we've got the younger demographics. And Google TV, by the end of the day, is all about user choice. So if you think about entry points, I think that was one of the questions that you asked. We see data where users are going in by choosing an app, because by the end of the day, everything is available as an app. So you can go in an app, you can go to the live tab, or increasingly so what we are actually seeing, this shift towards recommendations. And the main point here is all about reducing friction for users. Christoph, I think you mentioned that 2% of the users or less actually are using favorites. Adding something in a favorites and then kind of visiting back, and then let's say you've got 15 favorites, and if you've got pagination, you're actually going down. That's all friction. But let's say if we can actually just put the last channel or the one that we think is the most relevant channel or content within the channel right in front in the first couple of rows for you, it just solves the user friction problem. But then most importantly actually drives engagement to the partners and the broadcasters, which is the most important thing that they care about by the end of the day. So it's about kind of giving choice to the user, but then on top of that, providing technologies that actually helps reduce friction for them.
And Bruno, what are you seeing based on your, I assume, a lot of data you're working with, kind of the importance of linear and also interpoints into linear?
Yeah, I think that the EPG is part of the UX in the end, but we need to be able to personalize or to flexibilize maybe the user experience on that angle. I do personally see, like, if you look, I don't know, at a park, so you build a park, you build like the grass and let the users walk, and then they find out freely what they want to watch, and then you measure the paths. So that's the best scenario, right? So, but the EPG in the end is like a shopping mall. You need to walk here, you need to go there, and so on. So we need to be able to use what we can measure from the user experience to be able to personalize that, or to offer even for other demographics, so the personalized experience, to provide recommendations and so on. As nowadays from the data we can see everything basically. So you can see what they watch, where do they navigate to, what type of viewing state are they in. So as Brigita was saying, are they binge watching, are they linear, passively watching, or what? So we need to be able to use that data to personalize the experience. But yes, indeed it's a path to go, I believe so. So we see a lot of, let's say, the old way of presenting the content and so on, which in the end it's somehow commoditized way of presenting each type of content. There's a lot of room to personalization, I believe so.
So if you look at like an EPG, it's basically static, right? So it's kind of predefined by the operator, and there's less room for personalization. I mean, if you think about the homepage, this can be personalized. You think about search, it can be personalized, and then, I mean, if you hand it into apps, then there's kind of the personalization happening. So are there any activities around kind of personalizing or changing kind of the way an EPG is set up from your perspective, or are there kind of limitations that you can't overcome?
I think there are limitations, and well, we can always have very wild dreams, thinking that we can put everything to EPG, that we can have all series set up as EPG channels and all crazy ideas. But at some points we run into the questions of content rights, how exactly to do it, how will the user understand it, how will every single user understand it. But yes, the regulations, the content rights, all of that also comes into the game. And then knowing, as it also goes with the personalization every single time, is that how do you know that today the same user wants to watch the sports channel? Maybe he only watched it yesterday, but he every evening wants to watch the news at 9 o'clock. Okay, that channel we can then put up. I think that's the only thing that we could all start doing, is that we put the channels ordering based on what are you actually watching, and if people are watching more live TV, maybe that's something we can do. But just the percentage of people adding favorite channels already is super small.
Yeah, I think that the way the EPG works is very well known by the customers. So I think really changing, I don't know, the look and feel of an EPG might be difficult, because you need to explain to the customer how it will work. I think the most important thing is to provide the customer good metadata and good events at the specific time they would like to consume it. And therefore I think also AI will do some changes there. From a technical point of view, I think we are ready to improve that. But I fully agree that mostly it's a content right situation, which doesn't give us the ability to do that for the customer, to have a better customer experience.
And is also the EPG kind of the thing itself, that, or is it just you check something, what's kind of currently on, or is it basically kind of the channel up, channel down feature that's basically the content and discovery method and the convenience that is just one click away without making a proper active decision for something? We just click and somehow get surprised actually what's going to come.
So I can jump in here. Look, so ever since we talked about AI here a little bit as well, so there's this new wave of Gen AI, right? But Google TV has been like AI first from the get-go, right? We've been using deep neural networks from the get-go in terms of understanding all different kinds of consumption types and going deep, multiple layers, 24, 28 layers in terms of understanding user affinities to various different things. Brigita talked about time. That's just one signal, right? Content affinity to whether sports versus news is another. Within news, what kind of programs they watch is another affinity. So there are challenges around metadata, which I think CPO from Plex was talking about as well. That's clear, but those are all bridgeable. Like they are how much cost you want to put in, how much energy you want to put in, you can solve all of them. So these are all solvable. But as my colleague here was saying, there are limitations, and I think the head of Whirl was also saying is like there's a lot of things that can be done, but then they're given the EPG shape and the way we are expected to showcase everything, it just reduces that. So I think innovation can be done, but I think there needs to be space for innovation, that we can actually do that as well. So for example, from a Google TV perspective, we've launched our live experience in a few markets. So if you look at the experience we have in the US, that's vastly different than the experience that we actually currently have in Europe. So that kind of just explains where, how much of it can be stretched based on the geographies you actually operate in, and then obviously the regulations that we need to comply with, which we all have to do.
Yes, and then the EPGs are also different. You have the grid EPG, and then you have the EPG that you can have on top of live player. And also there, the game changes quite a lot on what you can do and what you can't do, because they are from UI perspective, they are different. So that's also a way of playing with it.
Before lunch in the other room, there was a discussion if we have probably in a couple of years a set-top box without any EPG at all. That the set-top box knows already what I would like to see.
Like the phone without apps, what your company is.
The phone without apps.
I don't think that this will happen very soon, because as I said, the EPG is well known, and especially for older generation, they want to see what they would like to see. Therefore, I don't think that the look and feel from EPG will change in the next years.
I have heard one rumor that I remembered, is that the kids at home now, there is a rumor going that kids don't know what's an EPG. So they open up the grid, And they're asking, what is this thing? What are these lines and what are you supposed to do with it? So it's only a rumor, I'm not sure.
I can provide some anecdotal feedback on that as well, which is, here's a thought experiment for everyone to think about, right? This is something that I share internally with colleagues as well, because I'm encouraging our team to kind of think within 3 to 5 year horizons in terms of roadmap planning. And one thing that I'm starting to say more regularly to everyone right now is that around 2024, 2025, we're going to get millions and millions of Gen Zs for the first time buying their first TV. They've grown up with the internet. They've grown up with a completely different content understanding, browse understanding, swipe up, swipe right, left, etc., and everything. And that's something that we should be kind of thinking about as we're thinking about designing for the future. And case in point, we had some young folks interning with us. And as they were kind of within the Google TV team looking at that, they basically had the experience that Brigita just explained. So not children, Gen Zs who were just interning with us, and they had a completely different experience with the TV in terms of how they were thinking about consuming it and finding content. So I think it's important to kind of think about the future that we are heading into and who we need to design for. Again, as Google and as Google TV, we try to design for everyone, whether it's older demographic, higher demographic, less regulated markets, heavily regulated markets. Our platform is supposed to answer to all of those things, but it's important to kind of keep that in mind as we design for the future.
But then I think it's very important to have the possibility to show the right content.
Yeah.
And I think everybody knows watching through one or zapping through one of the OTT players and doesn't find anything you would like to watch. And this works best. So with a normal EPG, I can really see what's going on. If I would like to have a new EPG with zipping, swiping, and so on, I need to have the content available for the customers. And that's still often not happening.
And that's the scary thing, is that when we people in TV end up in a situation on a Friday night, you can't find anything to watch. You have a lot more streaming services than any of the customers, and you don't find anything to watch. Then it's a really scary moment, because then you're thinking, okay, but the user has 1 service, 3 services, maybe 5. I have 10, maybe more. What are they doing then? Then it's a question of where are we going wrong, so that they are going through the app and they can't find anything.
Yeah. We're having a very bad content discovery experience for sure, and we could have done a lot to improve it. I think that there's a generational gap on that, because for us, zapping it's an experience. So you are sitting and trying to find something to watch, but I see my kids, and for them this is unacceptable, totally. So they are super on demand. So I need to plug this and give me the recommendation of
exactly
what I want to watch. So and they have grown up with these TikToks, YouTube's levels of recommendations that are super fine-tuned. So even for short videos, so they don't need to have this to spend time. And the point is that we have already capability to look at the EPG, look at what's available now, look at the user's history, and provide recommendations. We can do it, but the structure of the EPG is still old. So I think that there's a lot of room to...
Yep, absolutely.
But isn't the young generation, sometimes it's just the framing and wording, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you ask them, do you want to watch TV, then they obviously say no, because it's kind of not cool because the parents are doing it. At the end, if I look at someone watching TikTok, I mean, at the end, it looks like you're zapping through something with kind of, I mean, you reduce kind of the time of what? There's no choice at the end because you just press one button, which was kind of the same thing in pressing channel up. The only difference is it's kind of personalized what's next. I think that's kind of the thing that's currently not really happening on an EPG, right?
No, I think in general we're not there, because when I open TikTok, that's my wild dream, is that when I open TikTok, then every single time it knows what I want to see. If I want to see the tarot ladies that are saying that next month your biggest success is coming and happiness and everything, or I want to see puppy videos, but when I open TV, then we're not there yet. In my wild dreams, in, I don't know, 3 years, 5 years, I hope that I turn the TV on and it's like TikTok. It knows what I want. But yes, it's the zapping it's similar in a mind, but I don't zap.
But this recommendation, or in general live TV, for example, is taking away the decision from you what you would like to see. So it takes the decision for you, because my kids, they enjoy watching TV more than, I need to select something. I need to know what I want to see. TV, live TV or TikTok or YouTube could also do the same, is different in that. However, recommendation is important for them because they want to see content they are interested in. So I think there are the technical possibilities to improve even recommendations and to really provide customers with the right content. We just need to use it and get the enablement from the broadcasters to do that. I think there could be a lot of improvement there.
When talking about the future of the EPG, if you look at a kind of a standard homepage, be it from an operator, be it from Google TV or from Amazon, at the end it's kind of breaking up a bit kind of where it's coming from, the source, the business model, etc. So it's kind of blending various sources and trying to cater kind of for the need and the appetite of the consumer. The question is, will that also happen for the EPG in the future? I mean, I saw examples where kind of SVOD channels are some kind of, or SVOD services are somehow linearized. The fast movement is somehow pointing in that direction. So what's your thoughts and activities breaking up kind of this strict model of the EPG? Obviously, that's take a little bit of regulation apart, because this is, I guess, limiting a lot as of now. But what are your steps towards kind of a more modern, multi-source EPG approach?
I think one thing that we should be careful about is that the older generations, or I don't know how to call them nicely, so that nobody is feeling hurt because one day we are all old, is that we can't break their experience, we can't break what they're used to. So if we put inside there everything that we think that there should be, then the risk is that we will break something that works for them. And the worst thing you can do is create frustration. That's the worst thing you can do when you're working in TV. That's something to be careful about. That's my thought. I'm not sure how much we will do in EPGs. We haven't done there too much for years, decades.
So I think you mentioned something about multi-provider EPG, I think you mentioned. So that's something that we've already launched in the US. So an example of this is that if you have, let's say, Sling TV as kind of your paid subscriber, and then you also want to watch stuff from Tubi or Pluto, for example. So the Google TV experience actually gives you the capability to blend it all together, dedupe, and give you that one holistic list in categories, etc., and everything that you can actually do. And we also have a set of recommendations. I'm talking about the live tab at the moment, which actually kind of brings the best content with the recently watched, most popular, etc., personalized for the user as well. So it works pretty well from that perspective. But as Brigita pointed out, it's number one, it starts to become pretty overwhelming if you want to go to row number 700, for example, right? Yeah. So there are jump-off points and everything that we provide. But I think the important point is, as Brigita pointed out, like we don't want to break the experience for a very large cohort of users. If you look at any data at the moment, and our colleague can here share, it's like there's still a lot of users who are going straight, like the journey is turn the TV on, swipe right on the remote, go into the live tab. That journey cannot and should not be broken. So I think EPG is going to be around for quite some time. We just want to make sure that, again, going back to the choice and ease of use kind of needs to be there. And that's something that is, again, limits the scope, but it's still there. But there are other things to innovate on. So again, as I mentioned, users who want to go to the live tab, they can do that. But then other areas where users want to consume it differently through recommendation rows, tweakable recommendation rows, for example, etc. Those are all, I think, should be played around with without too much restrictions, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Christoph, your view on kind of moving the EPG into the future?
Without any regulations. I would love to, for example, from a customer perspective, I would love to build up a personalized fast channel with all content out of ketchup, for example. Mixing up RTL protein group to be funny. So yeah, that would be cool. I think it would be cool also for the customer, and we could do that. However, we are not allowed to. Yeah, that's a pity actually. Yeah.
But Is it, I mean, and then it's the question that's kind of following, is it then kind of the end of the EPG at a certain point of time? Because, I mean, you can somehow do that, I assume, kind of in more on the home page or somewhere else, let's say in the UI, to provide this more personalized experience. And is then this overruling at a certain point of time then?
I don't think that the EPG will vanish. I think we need to understand which customer is sitting in front of the TV, and then differentiate between new models of EPG, swiping left and right, and having the old shape of the EPG for our older customers. They need that. And we see if something is not working on the EPG, we have immediate calls. So that's
Definitely, I agree. I think the EPG is not dying yet. And last year, right, when it was said that, oh, TV is dead. Well, TV is not dead, EPG is not dead, live TV is not dead. We're still thriving.
What we see with a lot of potential in that angle, in the end, it's personalization. So we need to understand which user is there and so on. What we see at this point, 4 levels of segmentation. So we see like the demographics, characteristics of the users, psychographics on the preferences, what do you like, and so on. Your level of engagement, is it a power user, low engaged, and so on. And then you have the viewing state. So what you have said, so for some users, I want to have a passive experience, so I'm cooking. I want to turn on the TV and let The Simpsons, bro, or Friends, or whatever. I don't want to think about it. So I think that this final step on the viewing state to be able to personalize based on what kind of experience you're looking for, I think it's the future. I believe so at this point.
And I think there's one additional thing I would like to mention, just looking at the time. We also need to explain the customers for what we are using their data.
Yeah.
I think this is very important. I mean, GDPR is a big topic. Everybody talks about data privacy. But to provide the customer a good customer experience, we need to understand him and we need to learn his behavior. And then we can show good recommendations. Without that, we will stick to the old EPG fashion for the next years.
Maybe the EPG is not too bad, because now kind of all the streaming services are introducing like the top 10. At the very end, if you look at it, somehow the EPG order is also to a certain extent driven by past viewer data. So maybe this is kind of, and also to your point, kind of the data. So you know it's not my personal data, it's done by someone else, which is, maybe this is kind of the benefit of the EPG. That's specifically not personalized. And
I think the trick is in getting the balance right. So one of the things that we, for example, do even on the homepage of Google TV is that it's not fully personalized. Like, it basically says for you, so which means it's all for the user. But we have about 4 or 5 rows out of total 15 there that are non-personalized. So what that means is, like, it's showing you all the popular content in the market. It's showing you the trending content in the market. It's showing you new from your providers without actually, personalizing them in any way. These are what we call factual rows, right? And what that actually means is, like, okay, so you've got a set of rows that actually gives you recommendations, personalized recommendations, but then there is another set of rows that tells you what's happening in the ecosystem around you as well. So it kind of broadens your horizon there as well. So it all comes down to this kind of a balance. And you can argue that similar things can be done in the EPG as well, right? Like, you can basically have your EPG grid, but then you can have your popular category, et cetera, and all of that. But again, as everyone has been talking about right now, it all comes down to what can be done. I think the technology is there. I think the signals are there. The data is there. I think the motivation is there as well. But it all comes down to what can be done in the space or the guidelines that are provided.
And maybe this is kind of you stick to a model, as you were saying. I mean, at the end, you want to keep a model that is somehow working for the consumers, and why change a running model and play with something that is working well, and you get the other playground where you can work on the stuff. And I assume kind of this is kind of the new thing where now linear content is somewhere else also being surfaced.
Correct.
And these are kind of valid entry points. Do you have kind of some thoughts on kind of what are the relevant entry points for linear? Is it the EPG, or can it be also something kind of the homepage trending?
I think it's anywhere. And when I also look at our title, in the end, what matters is that content is king. Either the user wants to watch live TV, it should be also accessible from the home screen or wherever screen they end up most. So if we have all the data, as we all agree we should have, then we should know where do they want to watch it, and then it should be there where they actually want to watch it from. I think it should be accessible from anywhere.
Yeah,
if the user wants it.
Yeah, from a design perspective, this is something that we decided earlier on, that we're going to use linear or live content as first-class citizens in the experience. So the way to think about it is like we don't differentiate between the content. If you think about it from a content, it's not channel, it's the content that's within the channel. So whether it's AVOD, whether it's SVOD, whether it's linear, it's the content. So we elevated it to the first-class citizenship position, and what that actually means, then it's accessible everywhere in the experience. So that's what we are currently able to do. But like I said, if you look at it specifically, the EPG, the grid-based EPG, it starts to become a little bit limited there.
Yeah.
All right, looking at the time, I think so. There's a future for the EPG as it is of now, but with, let's say, not so much innovation happening, rather in other areas in the UI. Please, thank you for the panel. It was a good discussion, and we can continue certainly then at the coffee break. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.